we're going to be talking about Tatango's Health Console and how to use our best practices for segmenting your customer journey. So for those of you that are not familiar with me, and some of you are my customers, so thanks for joining. I'm Cecilia Tavel. I run the customer success programs in Tatango and have been here for about 3.5 years, and just very excited to work with all of you, learn best practices, and share them with our customers. If you want to stay in touch, or if you have any questions or feedback for me, you can reach out to Cecilia@tatango.com. That's my email address, and I'll be happy to stay in touch. So for today's agenda, we're going to be talking about Tatango's methodology for customer journey phases. We'll also talk about the data needed in order to configure the right segments. We'll also work through setting up segments within the Health Console, and then making Health Console insights actionable via success plays and campaigns. So for Tatango's methodology for the Health Console, so if we start thinking about kind of the segmentation or the right approach to this, if we start looking at the 4 key segments that we have identified, and this might be really specific to your business, but these are just some suggestions and best practices that we have learned that you can start with. The 4 key segments could be onboarding, growing, in renewal, and canceling. And then top level segments in configuration could be your paying customer bucket, so your segment of paying customers. And from there, carving it out by the specific segmentation. So do you have key accounts versus small to medium size accounts, or do you have an enterprise package? Really depends on your tiering. In this particular example, we have commercial accounts versus key accounts. And you can think about what is the right segmentation for your business, and do you already have that segmentation in place? As far as visualizing this in the Health Console, and we'll actually dive into Tatango to walk through this. But if we look into configuration, this is how this would look. So you'd have your segments configured. You'll have the representation of how many customers fall into each particular segment. You can also monitor fluctuations. You can see the little percentage up and down signs. You can see how much revenue is represented by that segment. You also see the health of that particular segment, and you can see the timeline as far as how the health has changed for that particular segment. So as soon as we have identified the right segmentation, we can monitor. And then from there, I think what's important is to find out and actually pay attention to any signs of trouble. So if the health is not really great for a particular segment, what kind of programs can you run? What kind of systems can you put in place so that you can actually run something specific to improve the health of that particular segment? And how you can do that is essentially with customer success plays in Tatango. So once you have the problem identified, you can set up processes and programs to, of course, correct. You can also do this with campaigns. So you can do this on a low-touch model. So if you have volume accounts, you can set up some automation to deliver the right message to the right customer through the customer success campaigns in Tatango. And then again, you can refine your existing processes. So what do you need to change in your existing process in order to make things better? The other thing, that we can kind of think about and uncover through this type of segmentation is, really understanding how different various customer tiers are doing. So if you have a different tiering, you can see, maybe your larger customers are doing better because you have more resources assigned to them. Your smaller customers may be lagging, and what can you do to improve? You can also slice this by, regions, by size, by industry. The Health Console really gives you a lot of that flexibility. Another thing to consider is health by how long the customer has been with you. So maybe your legacy customers are, just a little bit behind because they have been set up a long time ago. Processes, systems have changed, and maybe they just haven't had that refresh. So maybe it's time to focus on them. And looking at the tenure of a customer sometimes helps uncover those problem areas for you. Also, are there challenges at specific life cycle stages? So for example, is onboarding problematic for us? Do we have some issues there we need to really focus on? or do we have more problems when we approach kind of renewal phases? So something to pay attention to. And of course, your business specific parameter questions. Is there something unique to your business that Tatango can help uncover? Can we ask the right questions based on your business and expose some potential areas where you need to improve? So again, visualizations. This is just another example of a customer's visualization of kind of their journey. They've looked at customers that are new kind of in the first 21 days, and then basically going through their process with onboarding being completed, then post-onboarding, before they're really established, and then once they're established. So this is another kind of representation, again, from the Health Console that was used by a customer. Now, when we think about the data that is needed, and hopefully all the data is already there for you, but if we think about, the customer tiers, do we have the representation of your customers by tier? So enterprise versus SMB, key versus commercial. Do we have the relevant dates for contract renewal so that we can really look at the contract renewal phase, or up, maybe 90, 120 days in advance of renewal, and segment that out? And then do we know when the customer, so we have in Tatango a way to track if a customer has let us know that they want to cancel, but they're not done with their contract yet. So maybe they decide to cancel several months in advance, so they're still in contract. So they're still going to be a paying customer, but now we know we have maybe some wiggle room there, or some time to hopefully save them once we've learned that they are planning to cancel. So paying attention closely to that particular customer segment that has notified you of cancellation, but you still have a way to rescue them. So that's something to consider as well. If you don't have that tracked or available, maybe that's something you can consider adding, so that your team has other processes they can run with those types of customers in that unique particular segment. So with that, I'm actually going to jump out and dive directly into our demo instance of Tatango so that we can walk through how this can essentially look for you. So if you navigate on the left navigation panel under the Executive Console, the Health section, it takes you to a default page. And this is just so that you know, if you customize or create any segments within the Health Console, this only affects you. So it's not going to break or change anything for anybody else in your team. But if you do create some cool segments and want to have your team kind of leverage the same, then you just need to essentially let them know how to set up the same, and they can follow. So by default, what you'll see here when you land on this page is a direct representation of kind of the mapping that you have set up in your health definition. So all the profiles, all the segments will match that if you don't do anything. But if you do start creating segments, and the ones that we have showed you on the slide are these guys. So we have the onboarding, growing, and renewal next 90 days or next 120 days, however you want to look at that, and then canceling. The way to create these segments, and I'll show you how to do that, is you click on the little plus sign here at the top. You select add segment, and then you give it a meaningful name. So let's start with onboarding. I'll just create another one. And basically what I'll do, I'll make sure that I'm picking all my customers that are paying. And for us, we actually have a status that's called onboarding. So that's what we leverage for it. So within our paying distribution here, we have an onboarding bucket. And so that's all I need to do. So now I've created my onboarding segment. I save it, and then it's going to end up on my list. So I have my onboarding. And the next one down there is growing. So whatever that means for you, and you can label it something else. It could be your established customers. So we'll say growing. Essentially anybody that's after onboarding. I am going to grab my, again, status type paying. And now I'm going to select, we don't have a specific status called growing. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to select my customers that are established. That will mean growing for me because they've already graduated onboarding. And so it gets added to the next line down here. Let's go to our in renewal phase, because we do want to monitor that pretty closely and pay attention to that segment as they approach renewal. Again, I'll do my status type paying, and I will simply do an attribute, and I will look for my contract renewal date. So I'll do contract renewal date, and I'll select in the next. And you can go as far out as you need to. Usually 90 or 120 days is kind of the sweet spot. So I'll just say 120, and I'll actually change that to 120 day in the name, and I'll click on save, and there you go, and I have my segment. And then what I wanted to show you really quick, if you're thinking about doing this as well, is the segment of customers that have let you know that they're going to be canceling. So what I'll do is, again, I'll do status type is paying, and I'll select my status, and we do have that bucket of canceling. So we have this one available to us. You can actually do this with any other attribute. So you can just simply, if you don't manage it through status, you can just simply add another attribute value somewhere where you can come up with a unique name for it, and then map it to Tango, or manage it directly into Tango. Whenever a customer lets you know that they're canceling, you can simply leverage that value or that variable and create that segment. So I'll add it in, and now I have this. So now I can actually take a look and see by all my journey phases, the way I've defined them, how I'm doing. So how many customers do I have? How much revenue is represented by that segment? And what is the health of that segment? So I can see in onboarding, I'm doing, there's a bunch of customers in yellow. There are just a few in green. And obviously my canceling customers, not a surprise, not doing well at all. They're all in poor health. So I have 6 of them. So what can I do? Maybe there's a process I can run, with that kind of situation in my hands. In order to actually, what you can also do is hover over the time frame and actually see how each one of your segments has performed in the past. So you can see, okay, now we're at 68, but the week before we were at 70 as far as health. So it also gives you kind of a way to look back and analyze that, and obviously focus on areas where you need to. All of these areas are also clickable. So if you want to, at any given point, click on the specific area of the pie chart, you can see which accounts are falling into each health state. So this is the segmentation at the bottom. The other layer of segmentation that you can do is at the top, filter. So right now we're exposing all the paying customers, but this is where you can actually carve it out by your specific tiers of customers. So what I've done, I've broken it out by key accounts versus commercial accounts. But what you can do is, maybe if you have an enterprise tier, so what you can do is say new segment, and maybe call this enterprise if you have that. And from here, you'll simply select the specific attribute that tells us what type of account it is. So maybe it's by account type, and then you'll simply select the right account type. So if you have enterprise, you'll just simply select it. So for example, let's assume that our enterprises are corporate, and then I save. And then what will happen, once I have the customers in that particular segment, all of my other segments below will align to it. So I don't have anybody in corporate, but if I go to my key accounts, now what this is doing, it's basically taking out everything else, and it's just showing me my onboarding, my growing, my in renewal, my canceling, just for those key accounts. So I'm doing the further segmentation there just for that particular customer segment. Then I can go to my commercial accounts and visualize the same. So I will only see my particular numbers for my commercial account. So it's a really nice way to kind of flip back and forth between the relevant tiers of customers. So this is where you would do that on the top. You will define your particular grouping right here, specific and relevant to your business. The other things to also look at, if you're looking to do more with this, there's a lot of flexibility, is looking at the tenure, like I mentioned. So I've sliced it by key accounts older than 1 year with us, key accounts younger than a year, those are all kind of good ideas for you to consider as you're looking to further segment. But to start with, our best practices would suggest mapping it out just by kind of your customer journeys. And for us, the best practices, these 4 that we have identified. So from here, what I wanted to do is, as we talk about kind of taking this information and these insights and making something out of that, running programs, focusing on specific areas. So maybe what I can do is, since I know that I have these 6 customers canceling, what I can do is maybe run a process with my team so I can create a success play and really develop some program to target these customers and improve the situation. And that can apply to any of these particular segments. Wherever you notice a problem or want to fine tune something, you can run a program with it via success plays and automate some of the kind of the task creation that happens that goes to your customers, your CSMs. So what I'll do, I'll actually create the success play from scratch, and I'll call this rescue mission because we're trying to save our canceling accounts, and I'll just copy paste that for now. And then again, with success flows, if you're not familiar with those, there are ways to categorize your interaction. So you can actually define what type of interaction this will be. And we can maybe call this an escalation because it's pretty serious, customers canceling. So we want to make sure that we are, treating it appropriately. What I'll do, I'll start selecting my conditions. So I'll select paying customers. And I'll use the advanced editor here because I do need to make sure that I bring in the status for canceling here. And I'll click on save. And so this is going to be a preview of my segment. I have those 6 accounts, and then I'll continue. And then this is where I define my specific task. So what we need to do is make sure that we have a task force. So what I want my CSMs to come up with is create an internal task force to identify the plan to save the customer. So something like that. It can be really, specific to your business and what you're doing there, but this is just to give you an example. It will go directly to the success manager. It will be assigned by me by default, or you can change that here. I can give a priority. I'll say hi, and then I'll make it like due date would be 3 days after task creation for now. And then I'll continue. Again, I have a kind of a quick preview of my success play. And from here, I can just activate. So I'll say activate, and then it'll pop up a little window saying that there's going to be 6 tasks and 6 accounts are going to be affected. When I click on continue, that success play is going to be sent out, and an email is going to arrive in the CSM's inbox, and they'll also get a notification in their My Portfolio to reach out to their customer. So that's how you essentially take some information and insights that you're learning from monitoring the health segments in the Health Console, and then setting up some programs to improve. Now, that's internal processes. The other thing that you can consider is, again, looking at more of the low-touch, one-to-many, any kind of communication that is relevant to your customers depending on where they are in their journey with you. You can use the Tatango campaigns for that. So the one-to-one email communications. So if there's, for example, a low-touch process, or maybe it's very easy for your customers to renew, or maybe even upsell, whatever those things are that you can essentially automate very easily in an email, you can do that. So maybe there's an automated renewal process that customer has to go through. Maybe this is a volume account, low touch. You can send them a link to renew, or there's something that they need to configure or sign, anything of that sort. You can easily automate through a campaign. So I'll show you a quick example of that. If you're not familiar with campaigns, you'll give the campaign a quick description. Again, you can define what type of campaign this is. I will call it a renewal campaign in this particular case. And I can select the type of campaign. I usually, if they don't fall into any of these buckets, I just create and build my own campaign. And here's again where I define my conditions. So I'll say paying customer, and I'll use the advanced editor, and I'll say that the contract, actually, so this is user level information. I want to actually talk renewal type of stuff with only my key contacts. So I want to make sure that the key contact is going to get this email. And then the other thing I want to do is look at my account filters and look at my renewal date. So I want to select the right renewal date is in the next 90 days, and then save. So now I'll get a preview of my segment. I'll know how many users. So I have 50 users across 31 accounts that have this particular conditions being met. And then these are my key contacts. They have the little crowds. And then I'll continue. And then I can set up a goal. In this particular case, since I want them to renew, the goal doesn't really apply. But if you were looking to do like some sort of feature, promotions or introductions, you can actually define a goal to be that the customer actually takes advantage or uses a particular feature of your product. Renewal coming up. Let's see, promos. I mean, this is obviously customizable. I'm just typing in some examples. And then you can define who it's coming from. So you can actually send it directly from the CSM, which is nice. And if there's no CSM assigned, you can have a fallback email address and a name. You can make the template, with your branded colors and logos, or you can simply keep it very simple, plain text. So it's up to you how fancy you want to get. If you do use plain text, you just want to make sure that you're customizing the information as far as who it's going to. So in Tatango, since we track your data, you should be able to address the recipient by their first name. If there's no first name, you can say hi there. The other cool stuff here is you can infuse any data that is being tracked into Tango. So for example, if you want to say, you are one of our, X type of customers, like maybe you're one of our key accounts or commercial accounts or whatever it may be. You can actually, any data that is into Tango, you can expose it. And when the user reads that email, it's going to be presented with their own information. And from here, obviously, you'll make sure that the message is relevant and applicable. You can preview it. You can send yourself test messages to make sure everything looks good and is aligned. And from there, you simply just go through the process of activating your campaign. You can schedule it right away. You can schedule it for later. You can also have it on an ongoing campaign. So meaning that whenever a new customer enters the criteria in renewal, they will get that campaign. So you can put this on autopilot and make it work for you. So that's really great. And so from there, you'll just simply make sure that you're continuing and you'll activate your campaign, and it will go out at the specified time that you have scheduled. So that's the campaigns capability. That is a communication to your customers that you can easily leverage as well. So these are, this is basically what I wanted to highlight for today. If you guys have any questions, we do have a few more minutes. Please let me know and we can actually go through some questions. Okay, so we had some questions here, but I think the user have figured it out. Okay, so we're good. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to type them in. If you don't, thank you again for joining today. We look forward to seeing you again at our next webinar. Stay tuned. There are some cool announcements coming out today, so register for the webinars that are coming up that are going to be discussing the new features and capabilities of our successful segmentation. And thank you for joining. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you again soon.